talk about the lessons we have learned under COVID. And these are personal lessons learned. I've learned some few. Nti mwayingira ekintu ate mwagamba Katonda najja ye yabaleeta. Bisaso ntamu. A channel that talks about education, that talks about skilling, is being self-aware, self-awareness. Make sure you're aware of your strength, of your weaknesses, of your emotions. Good morning to you all once again. It has been quite a while since we last communicated to each other. We had some challenges, and I think COVID must have taken a toll on all of us. So despite the fact that we have not been around, but we have been following. And we really appreciate what you have been doing. We have been following you, and you have been following us. I've always had feedback on Facebook. I've been having feedback on my Twitter handle and so on. Thank you so much, and keep it up. It has been, people have been longing for these videos, and I'm very, very humbled and grateful for all those ones who used to tune in. Every other day you see people coming on, subscribers are increasing, and even the viewers are increasing. Thank you so much, and kind of remind all those ones who are not tuned that please let them tune in on this channel. It talks about education, talks about employment, talks about motivation and inspiration and family and so on. Now today we are going to talk about education, and we are going to talk about schooling, but in a different angle. We want to look at the different stakeholders in any school setting, given the fact that the schools have resumed, and the schools resumed after with a lot of challenges. The parents are complaining, the students are complaining, the parents are demotivated, the students don't have morale, the teachers are demotivated, they don't have morale, the administrators are stressed because out of the very many, rather the number of children in the school, only about a fifth came back. Let us imagine the school had about 1,000 students. Only 200 at school. Those ones cannot run a school. I want parents to understand, and even the teachers to understand, that 200 students out of 1,000 cannot run a school. Now, I'm going to share the concerns of the various stakeholders in the school, and I'll begin. It's going to run in 3 episodes, and the first one is going to be the parents. I'm going to talk about the concerns the parents have, especially after COVID. Now that COVID is over and the parents are taking back their children, what are their concerns? And I want the head teachers and other school administrators and even the teachers to understand this, because when you understand this, when you conceptualize them, you run a better school. If you're an administrator, if you're a teacher, you'll become a better teacher. That one I guarantee you, because without understanding these concerns, you might not serve the interests of your clients, and some of your clientele, these are the parents. That's why you find very many parents all the time changing schools from one school to another, because they are not satisfied about the way that school is being run. So let's start by talking about the concerns of the parents, especially after COVID. And the first one, which is actually very important and cardinal and key, are the exorbitant school dues. Many parents are concerned about the exorbitant the school fees. But I've always been telling parents that for a child to stay at school just for one day, you need a minimum of 20,000 for that child to start school. A minimum of 10,000. Now, the least amount a parent should pay for a child to stay at school for just for one day, especially boarding school, is 5,000. When you transform that in 3 months, that is 450, and that is only school fees. But I want to tell the administrators and even the people who are running schools that let us be very, very realistic. Let's be very realistic. Let's understand the nature of our parents. Many of our parents are subsistence farmers. Many of them are peasants. They don't have the money. So in much as we want to ask or to levy school fees, let's be mindful of the kind of parents we have, because many of them do not fall in that high income or middle class status. So let's be very realistic, but also tell parents all the time that kindly take children to a school you can manage. Don't take your child to a school which pays a lot of money and then you start complaining. Take your child to a school you cannot manage, rather you can manage. Don't go to a school of 2 million and then you complain. No. Just be very sincere. Let us be mindful of your income, of your savings, of your investment, but most important of all, be considerate of the amount of your income. Because at the end of the day, you're going to look after this child for 17 solid years. So if you start paying 1 million in P1, calculate that one in 17 years. By the time that child is at the university, you'll have paid a lot of money, millions and millions, and then you start regretting. No, so parents are concerned about the exorbitant fees. Number 2, parents are concerned about career guidance and counseling in schools. For any school to be good and for any school to be viable, there must be counseling and guidance. This is when a child can identify his or her talent. This is when a child can identify his or her purpose, the preferred occupation, the preferred profession. So make sure your child goes to a school where there is counseling and guidance. And this is a concern because many of these children, first of all, they are, like for instance, during COVID, every parent was complaining about Abatutami. We are tired of these children. We are tired of these children. And I'm always challenging them that these are your children. For you are complaining about 2. May I have 1,000? May I have 1,000? So parents are concerned about career guidance because this is when a child can identify his or her career. Because the teachers are trained in this, in how a child can spot his talent, can spot his purpose in life. So parents are concerned, and I want the school administration or the teachers to know that parents are always very concerned about career guidance and counseling. Make sure there is career guidance and counseling in any school. If it is not there, my friend, the reason why you are very stressed as an administrator. So make sure you institute those. Make sure you have career days. Make sure you have career weeks. Make sure you have career events so that these children can know and can identify and can spot a talent. Number 3, parents are concerned about the management of schools because these are biggest stakeholders. In most cases, they contribute 90%. If it is a private school, they contribute 90%. If it's a government school, they contribute about 70%. So make sure the parents are very concerned about how you're going to manage the resources in that school. Do you do what you're supposed to do? Do you invest in education? Do you invest in curriculum, in co-curricular? Do you invest in scholastic materials? Do you invest in the teachers? Do you invest in career guidance? Now, these are important. So parents are concerned about the management of funds in school because they know without proper management that school will collapse. Without proper management you'll have a lot of challenges. Without proper management you'll have strikes. Without proper management you'll have indiscipline. Without proper management you'll have very many other challenges. So I implore it upon school administrators that make sure that there is proper management, especially of the funds. Be accountable. Account to the parents, account to the teachers, account to everybody, even account to the students. In fact, we are supposed even to account to the students who lead, but very few schools do that. So make sure you have instituted measures of proper management of school. Then the parents are also concerned about the motivation of teachers. Parents don't want their children to be under unmotivated teachers. And I always tell teachers that much as you have very many challenges, which we accept that you have, make sure you are motivated. And we always say that motivation is intrinsic. There is nobody who can motivate you, whether somebody pays you how much. And I've always challenged people. I always say that members of parliament get a minimum of 30 million for each one. But they are the most, they cry about money all the time. Every other day they want to be increased. So motivation is intrinsic. And I always tell teachers that first and foremost, they should have passion for their job. They should have passion for what they are doing. Because if you don't have passion for what you are doing, you will never love it. And I always say, God will never reward you for something you don't want. So as much as possible, as teachers, make sure you are motivated yourself so that you can inspire, so that you can motivate, so that you can inspire, so that you can motivate, so that you can encourage children to learn and even to achieve what they're supposed to do. So much as we have challenges as teachers, which we shall talk about at an opportune moment, let's be motivated. Let's motivate ourselves. That's how God is going to reward us in this profession. That is so noble and yet literally not so much rewarded. Then the other are the unrealistic school requirements. Parents are concerned by the way because they always complain. The requirements are too many. I'd like schools, especially school administrators, that when you are putting these circulars, make sure you are reasonable. Don't ask even for a tin of paint. Don't ask for a bag of cement. Get away of buying your cement. Get away of buying your paint. Get away of buying. But you put there everything. It's sometimes you complain and you say, by the way. But I'm saying this as an administrator, as a teacher for 30 years, and as a school administrator. But then sometimes you complain, then you say, by the way. Now, what does that money we paid do? That's what parents are complaining about. Because everything is literally brought. When students are going for a seminar, to young children, for instance, in a nursery, for instance, in the top class, there you go, you pay 40,000. But when you calculate the 40,000, this child can only take one soda. The requirements become too many. And that's why some of these children or some of these parents take away their children from our schools. A child stays in one school for a term, then goes for another school, simply because the requirements are too many. The requirements are too many and they become so challenging and overwhelming. So I'd like the school administrators to understand that parents are so concerned about the unrealistic school requirements. Then, of course, the other one are the poor teaching facilities. One time we said that for a school to be known as a good school, it must have good infrastructure, it must have good teachers, it must have sports, it must have career guiding, it must be able to support talent. Now, the teaching facilities, and we are not only talking about classrooms, even a playing ground is a teaching facility. Even an MDD room is a teaching facility. So make sure the teaching facilities are sound and well. We are not talking about schools which have mega structures. No, even if it is so small, even if it's not so good, but make sure it is sound, it is reasonable. So the teaching facilities matter a lot in terms of classroom, curriculum delivery, in terms of sports, in terms of career guidance, and so on. Then the other one, parents are so concerned about the security and the safety of their children. Not only the security of work, but even inside. Parents are concerned about how their children are going to live. Because when a parent brings the child to your school, you take on that responsibility. As a parent, as a teacher, you cover everything in terms of health, in terms of and everything. But make sure the children are safe. Make sure there is a compound. Make sure there is a fence. There is a gate. There is an askari. But even inside, make sure the children are safe in terms of morals. You must have a good nurse. You must have a good matron. You must have a good warden. You must have a good senior teacher. You must have a good woman's teacher. You must have a good man, whatever it is. So the security is not only for the askaris and so on, but even the nurse ensures security. Even the matron ensures security of the children. So make sure as much as possible there is security both inside and outside the school. Then of course the health and sanitation. Parents are concerned about the health and sanitation. Originally we had very many, there is asthma, there is HIV, now we have COVID-19. Parents are so concerned about the health. And of course this one follows along with cleanliness of the school. Your school must be clean. You must have a nurse. There must be what? Because at the end of the day, the children, the parents bring these children when they are okay. They expect them to be safe. They expect them to be healthy. Make sure they drink water. Make sure at least you can have this impact machine water. I'm not advertising for them, but at least make sure they drink boiled water. They take tea. They take a balanced diet. Because these ones are going to ensure that they are, in terms of health, they are fine. Make sure they are toilets, and there are toilets for everyone. Segregated, that this is for boys, this is for girls, this is for administrators, this is for male teachers, this is for female teachers. So at the end of the day, the health must be sound. The sanitation. Good enough COVID came. We are now more cautious about our health. At least there is sanitizer, there is liquid soap, there are hand washing facilities. But this is what a good school should all be about. And COVID has reminded us how a good school should be in terms of health and sanitation. Then of course academic performance. And I'm not talking about excellence. I'm talking about good academic and sound academic performance. Make sure your child, rather the school must make sure the school has good academic performance, and that is a concern for parents. Remember, not all children are going to get a 4 in senior, in P7, and not all of them are going to get a first grade. But even those ones who are not so good, make sure they are academically sound. And we said, for a school to be very good in terms of academic performance, it must be a school that encourages students to listen, to read on their own, to write, and even to read. And it must be able to work on the hearts, as in terms of cleansing, and even to the brain. So make sure there are facilities, there are issues you put across, or you put in the school, which are going to encourage good academic performance in terms of the brain, in terms of the heart, and in terms of the body. Because it must be a holistic child. And the parents are very concerned about how a child is going to develop the brain, the heart, the body, and everything. And I'd like to tell the school administrators and even the teachers that it is not enough for somebody to get A. It has never been enough. To me, it doesn't matter so much. What matters is for that child to become holistic. And this is the concern for parents. These have been concerns the parents have. And that way, they take children to one school and not the other. Or they leave one school to another. And finally, welfare. Parents are concerned about the welfare, not only of their children, but in that school, the way they feed. Do they play? Do they pray? Sports, is there sports? Is there curriculum? Is there what? What do they eat? Do they have physical? Because these are all things which enhance the healthy, rather welfare of what? Of children. So parents and teachers, and especially school administrators, make sure you work on this. You work on fees, you work on career guidance, you work on management, you work on motivation of teachers, you work on school requirement, you work on teaching facilities, you work on security, health, academic performance, and finally, you work on the welfare. If you do this, you will have addressed the concerns of the parents. And I want to assure you, the parents, there's no way the parents will leave that school. It's not enough only to concentrate on academic, you must work on a holistic school. And those are the schools which have maintained their standards from long ago up to now. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank you so much, and kindly always urge you to share these videos because they are important and they are very good. Thank you so much. God bless you.